happened again. I astral projected again. Can't help it, life's boring with that astral projection. Let's face it, I used to get so frustrated when I used to astral project by accident. And I'd have to be forced to watch the same outcomes and events within my day in and day out life with other people. I used to get bored of the same daily grind of the so-called norm. Astral projection was a release. Astral projection is like you're seeing how things actually are, therefore you don't have to live in a reality which is just boring. Plain and simple. If you've seen my videos on reality and light and consciousness, you'll realize that everything is all real. I'm actually going to make a video, I've actually just reminded myself that I'm actually going to make a video on the grimoire, expanding on grimoire and words, which you guys will probably find quite interesting. Definitely. Especially as you can have a word that actually doesn't exist. That deals in belief systems. But, excuse me if my hair is soaking wet, I have just got out of the shower. And it's making quite a mess. You're excused. Anyway, in this astral projection experience, as I'm decoding the belief systems of what I think is necessary and how far I think that I should be able to go within the astral realms, which I have made a video on, I'm probably not going to upload it because I feel like making it again, just to get the information out there a lot better, a lot more cleaner, so that you guys can receive it a lot better. My astral projections are going haywire. They're going very, very much towards the goblin, dragon, fae kind, pretty out there stuff when it comes to the astral realms. Because most of the time when you astral project at the beginning, you're going to see stuff like Bardo, or you're going to go into places like Purgatory, which are basically planes of existence where there are no physical people, but the houses are still there, their cars are still there, they're all empty, and every now and then you'll see a dead person who's just died walking around confused out of their head. Or you'll see people who are dreaming, who are so unconscious that they're dreaming to the point where they're astral projecting. However, do not be fooled. Just because you're astral projecting in your sleep doesn't mean it's the same as you astral projecting. What? The reason why is this. When you astral project consciously, because all your conscious is there, you can manifest a lot more denser within the astral realms. Therefore, the experiences are a lot more different. You go to a lot more different places for starters, a lot more different places, a lot more better places, and your experience when it comes to touching things, to feeling things, to even sound and seeing light is way more expanded and way more expressive than it would be if you were accidentally astral projecting in your sleep. When you're sleeping and you astral project, you tend to go to places which are created out of your own thought forms, or you tend to go to places which are pretty low in frequency, which is when most people get pretty bad nightmares. But understanding that the bad nightmares are because you're unconscious, so you won't know that you're dreaming, basically. And things are going to be pretty crappy. They're not going to be as vibrant. You're not going to be able to touch things. They're basically a line in the sand, two different worlds. From astral projecting consciously and astral projecting by accident in your sleep. Two different experiences completely. So those of you guys who may be out there saying to yourself, commenting under my comments, astral projection is the same as sleeping, stop it. Because if you've never astral projected consciously, you ain't got the right information to start putting out that information, giving people false hope that they've done it already. Because what you're doing is you're spreading an ignorant thought form, which is stopping people from doing the work to consciously doing it. And deliberately, from my own experience, I can actually sit here and tell you the facts of the truth of what it's like when you're sleeping and you accidentally astral project, because I've done that quite a few times, and what it's like to do it consciously, which is completely different. If you've never done it before consciously, do not spread that thought form, please. Please, because I don't want people to stop themselves from experiencing something so magical, something so beautifully complex and unique. And if you are one of those people, and now you're actually thinking, you know what, maybe he's onto something, I would like you to take the time to at least watch my videos and actually do it properly. And maybe I might actually put up some more information on how to astral project a lot much more simpler than I've already done. much more easier, because I've gotten more techniques which I normally only teach to people who are in consultations, who work with me, my students. They're getting the updated techniques. I gave one away to a woman yesterday, which was so simple. It brings the most results. The most results. But within this astral projection that I'm going to tell you about, it went like this, okay? Oftentimes I'm laying there, I'm not even within the paralyzed state anymore. This is how many times I've astral projected. It's had this effect on my body, where I've got an itch on my back, or you're feeling like, okay, I'm in the process of astral projecting, and I feel like having an itch. And you say, I'm just going to itch my back. I'm just going to do it. And then I went to itch my back. My hand came straight up my arm and just itched my back, which was surprising, because I could feel my ghost hand, my astral hand, itching my back, which is cool, because I wonder if I can take my hand out and push things, like this glass, without even moving this hand. Stuff like that. Or I wonder what the effect would have if I astral project and touch people, you know? Because I seem to be getting more solid in the astral form. I seem to be able to manipulate things a lot more easier the more I do this stuff, which is pretty cool. But I did that, and I thought, okay, that was weird, and I put my hand back in my hand. I then had an itch on my foot, so I squeezed my foot like this, and my foot came straight out my foot. My astral foot came straight out my astral foot. No, my astral foot came straight out my physical foot, which surprised the crap out of me. But this is all happening now, and I keep twisting and turning in my bed, and it's become the norm that I keep sliding out my body without even wanting to astral project. But then I think, you know what? My body seems to want to do it, so I might as well just get up and do it. So I got up out of my body. The first thing that happened is I opened my bedroom door. I took a step out, and as I looked around, I wasn't in the hallway of my household anymore. I was actually in the hallway of what looked like a hotel, or the way that a hotel would be if it was outside in the middle of a field. You know when there's lights in the middle of a field and you can't see the outside of the field? It was like that, only it was like a stage set, more like more like a stage set. More like there was a house in the middle of the field with the rooms, the doors, a very wide doorway. You couldn't see out. There was no walls to the outside of the hall. So if you look straight forward, you can see at the bottom of the field. You look behind, you'll see the bottom of the field. And the only things you'll see are these like play sets of walls that are just standing in the field with doors. And I'm walking around this wallless corridor where there are these walls with doors, but there are no walls to the outside of the square diameter of the house, of the corridor house, right? So it's very much multi-dimensionally, very much labyrinth style kind of weirdness, okay, which is why I like doing these belief systems, why I like changing my belief systems when it comes to astral projecting, because I'm starting to experience astral planes, which are just so strange. And the strange thing is when I open the doors, or even when I was just walking through, some doors were open and some doors weren't. And as I was walking through the corridor, I could feel whether or not I should go through a particular door, whether or not the doors are going to be worse or bad experiences or good experiences. And I see my first door, and I open it. And as I walk through the first door, all I end up seeing is a fairground ride, okay? A fairground ride, which is a Ferris wheel. And there's all these people having fun, and it seems like they can't see me, like I'm completely oblivious to what's happening. So it wouldn't surprise me if I was actually in 3D at this point, walking around, okay, astrally. And I'm just observing everything, you know, just absorbing it in, absorbing all of the fun and the joy and the family members eating their candy floss, and on the Ferris wheels I'm looking up thinking that is huge, and I can feel the wind. And there are a few characters which stand out to me, which don't seem to be of the norm. They don't seem to be, how can I say, human. They give off an energy which is different to the normal public. And then it gets pretty cool, because above the Ferris wheel, okay, this is so awesome. You guys need to astral project, because above the Ferris wheel was a circular cloud. And there was clouds which go in a circle form, you know, like a storm. And as I'm looking at this storm, no one else can see it apart from me and the people who don't really quite look human. There's something off about them. And they're looking up, and then they look at me, and they notice I'm looking up. And it's like a rush to who gets there first, okay? Because every time something goes through this this portal of sorts above the Ferris wheel. The portal gets smaller. It gets smaller and smaller in diameter. And I think, right, I can get up there. This Ferris wheel is huge. It's really high. And I remember how to fly, because I used to do this a lot in the astral realms. I'm pretty good at it. So I start feeling my shoulders tingle. And my shoulders are tingling, and I'm running. I'm running towards the Ferris wheel. And I can feel the pull pulling me up into the air. I can feel the space in front of me contracting and the space behind me expanding. And I end up just leaving the floor. It's not even like I jumped. I was running, and next thing I know is I'm just lifting up, and I end up going really quickly straight into the wormhole, which are these huge clouds just spiraling around like a black hole. And then I pop through and burst through the middle with this other guy. Okay, he also got through. Next thing I know is I'm falling down, which is weird because I was going up at first, and now as soon as I got through, I fell down into a completely black area. And I'm standing on the floor, and all I can see is light through the portal, which is lit up like a stage, the floor that I'm standing on. And there are no walls at this point, and there's this guy staring at me still. He came through with me. And I look to my left, and I see a door. Just a door frame this time, no walls. It wasn't a corridor or anything like that. It was just a door frame. And I'm looking at the door frame and I'm thinking, okay, I'm guessing that's the only way to go. I need to go through this door frame. So I go through the door frame, right? But before I go through the door frame, I notice that there's a person on the other side looking at me, okay? And he's doing this, telling me to come through. So I walk through the door frame, and this is where it gets kind of weird, because I'm not sure whether this actually happened or whether I was being tested or something. Because when I went through this door frame, I ended up walking onto a construction site. And this guy looking at me wasn't a part of the construction team because he wasn't interacting. It was like they didn't know he was there. And he said to me, come in here, sit in this, I think it was a JCB, some sort of big digger kind of contraption. And I was like, okay, I'll sit in there. And there was me and a few more guys who sat in this machine, okay, and we were on this bridge because we were moving stuff because they were building a bridge, right? And here's where it got weird. The guy next to me, who they didn't pay attention to, nor did they pay attention to me, said, you don't need to put your seatbelt on. And I was like, he's got a point. I'm pretty much already, I don't need to put my seatbelt on. If anything happens, I'll just go back to my own body. And then we were sat there, and then he just looked at me, and the whole device shook. And next thing you know is the floor completely collapsed underneath me, and the entire JCB goes straight into the ground and kills everybody inside the machine. Everyone is dead except for, I think, one person survived, and he was freaking out like nuts. He just went crazy because he slowly came conscious. At first I thought everyone was dead, but then he came to. And then me and this guy next to me, we're just staring at each other and looking, thinking. And I'm just in like shock. Like, what was this for? Why did you bring me here? Kind of thing. I just experienced this tragedy. And then I get out of the door, and I end up staying in at the door. Only this time the door was closed. I open the door, step out. Next thing I know is I'm in the hallway again that I was in at the beginning. And then as I'm walking forward, I see two doors. There's one at the end of the corridor, which is feeling very bad, like, do not go in there kind of thing. And then there's one on my right, which is bright. The door's already open so I can see what's on the other side. And I can smell the grass. I can smell the moss. I can smell the fresh air. And as I'm looking at this daylight, which is on the other side, and where I'm at in the hallway is completely blank, I get drawn into it. So after smelling the cold air, I walk into this new area, and the place looks beautiful. It's like it's basically ruins, and it looked like it was on Earth. Only it looked old, abandoned. There was vegetation growing everywhere, and it smelled great. You know that smell you smell when you walk into the woods in the middle of autumn? It was like that. You can just smell the life coursing through this place. And it looked like a sacred place, but it didn't look normal. I mean, the statues of the people who were carved were so smooth and they look so different, like the style and the fashion to the modern day English statues here and the Chinese statues up in China. It looked completely different. So what I did was I sat at the base of the statue of this person who was like 20-foot tall statue. It was huge, and there was loads of them. It was as if there was a circle. The ruins, if they were built properly, it was like a circle around me. And there were people statues all around the circle, and then there was like monuments around to build the entire dome. But it was like the dome had broken in, and had just completely, over time, the vegetation or the wildlife has taken over. And I was sat there and I felt the granite rock. And it just felt so... The astral realms feel so more... It feels more real than it does here. Because, you know, of course it's real, but... The experience of feeling something more real than this reality that we're told is the only reality which is real, and really other realities are even realer than this reality, is astounding. And I'm breathing in the fresh air, I'm thinking, this place is nice. And then I look to my left this time. I look to my left, and I see one more door. I recognize the door. The door is my door to my bedroom, with a dartboard on there and everything. The same colour, the same paint with this type of pattern all over it. And I think, okay, it's time for me to go to see what's in store for me in my room. Because it doesn't feel like I'm going home, it just feels like I'm going through another door, you know? And I open the door, and I see my body. I look to my right, and I see my body in my bed. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm back now. And then when I open my door to go downstairs, it feels really weird, like the entire environment is just shaking and shifting. And then I walk down the normal corridor of my house, and I walk into the kitchen, and I'm seeing everyone living out their life, and then completely oblivious of me. They can't see me. And then as I walk into the room, I've got a mirror, a huge mirror in my kitchen wall. And as I turn the corner, I notice something, that I'm already in the mirror. Normally when you turn into a mirror, you can see yourself turning into the mirror, right? But no, this guy, I was already standing in the mirror, and I was watching me, and that version of me looks pretty angry, you know, and his eyes, if you've ever seen a really, really old person, and the pupil of their iris looks like glazed over, it's like white and cloudy, they look like that. They look dead, like his pupils look dead, but the rest of his skin looked normal, which looked kind of strange, and he was just staring at me, and I went this close to the mirror, and I turned my head like this, and then he kept turning his head, and then he stopped as I continued to turn my head, and I went like this back and freaked out. At that point, I just turned away and went upstairs. The next thing I know is I snap out my astral projection state, and I end up popping back into my body. And that was my Monday morning. So I'm Ryan JC. This is going to be about do it for my astral projection experience. I'm going to upload these videos and put them with the selection of videos that I have yet to upload onto my YouTube channel. And I'll speak to you guys pretty soon.